What did you guys do before
Judith
trains?
Jarvis Thompson, yeah.
But before trains, what did you have to talk about?
Atlantis and shit.
Yeah.
Pedophilia.
The fucking
kids.
What is it? The
They're running
green
trains
tablets
on
of oath or something.
They're running trains on children. That's what they're
I mean, the
Not all
invention,
philosophers.
but the invention of the train really changed your guys' whole life.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, what would you talk about before? You're like, should we be communists?
People
More
had-
people need to eat.
people
People are hungry.
people would
And
debate
then the fucking train was invented. You're like, yeah, this is good.
people would debate weird and wacky stuff. Like famously, Plato defined a human being as a featherless biped. That was his definition of what a human being is. And then I think it was
Featherless, what? I missed it.
biped.
Walk on two.
So an animal's
Like, you know
got
what I
2
said,
feet and doesn't have any feathers. So then I think it was Diogenes who like took a chicken and plucked all of its feathers and like ran into the room where Plato was teaching and held it up and went, "Behold, Plato's
human."
man." You know. And so they would just debate shit like that all the time, and it was just essentially definitional.
And why was this supported? Like, who was funding this back in the day? Are you
Education, I suppose, used to be just a privilege of people who could afford it.
But this could be a job. Like, back in the day, there were people that were just waxing poetic on philosophy, and the king was like, yeah, keep doing that shit.
I don't know about like back in ancient times. I don't really know how they were making their money.
You'd have students as well, wouldn't they?
But yeah, they'd have like students. But then I think some philosophers would probably have students that didn't pay. They just like had a school of people, a Jesus of Nazareth style.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you'd have students. I mean, famously, Aristotle tutored Alexander the Great. Mm-hmm. You know, like there are some pretty high clientele that want some philosophical wisdom, and so they're probably making money through that.
Do we have another thought experiment?
There are endless,
Or even a hot take?
How were they viewed societally, real quick? Like, how would Aristotle be viewed societally at the time?
It depends on what kind of philosopher they were. Like Socrates was a nuisance. People didn't like him.
Yeah. Is there some revisionist history on these people as we look back?
How do you mean?
Like, do we look at them as almost deities, right?
I mean, yeah,
they're like
Socrates'
brilliant, they're
skills put
genius.
Oh yeah, like but at the time,
what-
like,
were they-
a lot of these philosophers, if you like read their biographies, they're like depressed, miserable people who couldn't get laid. Like it's seriously.
It's like Van Gogh.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of thing where like you wouldn't want to be these guys. Like, why do you think like Immanuel Kant had the time to like sit around writing like the longest treatise on like objective ethics that the world's ever seen? Because he's a loser, you know. He's got nothing else going on. Like seriously, you know. Like what are you gonna do? Like Arthur Schopenhauer wrote an essay about women.
Okay.
Where he just like talks about how women are just inferior to men. And he just goes on and on and on about
Akash left at the wrong
yeah. And you read it and you're sort of like this sort of hyper rational guy, and you're like, but this is clearly just because like
He can't get laid.
you can't get. Apparently, he was like a bit of a womanizer, but I think he might have like had some trouble. Like people like rejected his proposals and stuff. And so actually, I was speaking to a friend earlier who said that any idea that anybody has, anytime like you say like a policy is come up with by a politician or anything of that sort, they should have to undergo like a psychological analysis to find out how much of that is due to the fact that their like dad didn't care about them as a kid or something. Like you've got to make sure that there's none of that going on.
Don't they just with detectives? They're like, you're too close to this case. You knew one of the people that were hurt. You're going to be too emotional. We take you off of it.
Yeah,
this is what they would hope.
But
that
we
they
should
do.
probably do that with like politicians too. It's like, you know, you should.
I think, yeah.
You shouldn't essentially just be using your rage to write about this kind of stuff. And I think that's clearly what's happening with Schopenhauer writing about women, for example.
How many other philosophers do you think this is happening to? Like, are there people that you're reading and you're like, oh, you actually have some deep issues that you are emotionally reacting to, and then just retrofitting your brilliance onto it?
That might be true of most philosophers. I mean, most people have motivations that aren't always immediately obvious. Like,
I've heard this about Charles Darwin.
what about him?
That his brother died of some type of like a malignant cancer or something to that effect, and he was told that he was going to go to hell, and so he took it upon himself to scientifically prove that God doesn't exist or something
I think
like that.
Darwin's child died.
Maybe that's what it is.
Darwin's, I think his youngest child might have died, and it does seem to sort of have an effect. I'm not sure if that like motivates like the biology of the origin of species, but it will motivate his like religious views. Darwin actually, interestingly, at the end of The Origin of Species, there's a beautiful little epilogue where he says, there is grandeur in this view of life. It's a famous piece where he talks about from so humble and simple a beginnings, endless life and endless forms, most beautiful, have been and are being evolved. And that's how it ends. It's this beautiful thing. And he talks about how life having originally been breathed into a few forms or into one. And there was such a backlash from the religious that in the second edition of The Origin of Species, there is an edition that's breathed by the creator into few forms or into one. Because he felt the need to add in this reference to God, and it's probably due to the backlash, but it may also just reflect his own like flip-flopping on religion. Because by the third edition, it was gone again. And this happens quite a lot, like people like defacing their books. Like Peter Singer recently did this for Animal Liberation, the father of the animal rights movement, who wrote in 1975 the greatest defense of animal ethics that has probably ever been written. I mean, it's just phenomenal and very confronting. And he was using all of these arguments that in the most recent updated edition, he felt the need to take out because they were like not politically correct anymore. Even though they were really useful philosophical arguments, he took them out. So for example, when he talks about giving animals rights, a lot of people say, well, we can't give animals the same rights as humans. You know, we're not going to give them the right to vote and stuff like that. And Peter Singer is like, well, to give people equal consideration doesn't mean you literally give them the same rights. For example, you wouldn't give men abortion rights. And that's not an inequality thing. You give them the same consideration, but it doesn't mean you give them literally the same rights. It just means that you give them the same consideration. So you wouldn't give men abortion rights, you wouldn't give animals voting rights, but you give them the same consideration.
Can special needs people vote?
They literally can, yeah.
They are allowed to vote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I assume so. I don't know if there are some.
Is that a crazy thing to ask? Like,
no, but
no,
it's not. But
I'm asking based on the same. You know, it's the same hypothetical. Like, if we deem an adult 18 years old and they have the mental capacity of an 18-year-old and I guess we don't do that with IQ. There's
that's the thing.
Voting's not mental capacity.
It's totally arbitrary because like voting is like the justification for voting is always like, well, you know, like it will lead to a better society and people, but really people feel like they have a right to vote. It's not so voting isn't supposed to be like, this is obviously the best way to always get to the right answer. It's like, no, it's a point of principle that if you're going to tax me, I have a say.
And
even if that leads
taxed.
to
And if they have the wherewithal to register to vote, then
they should be able to.
But it is completely arbitrary. Like the age limit on voting is completely arbitrary.
I feel it's way too loose. We let too many people vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that way, man. Like, and Aristotle thought the same. John Stuart Mill thought that different people should have different like numbers of votes. So like people who had a university education should get more votes than someone who didn't and stuff like that.